Oh.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
Yeah.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
Always makes me feel good. Love that. What a jingle. Righto, guys. Today I have one of the greatest lads on the podcast. He's a Hawkes Bay legend. He's won the Super Rugby with the Hurricanes, and now he's a very popular figure over in Japan, and he's even recently been called into the Japanese international training squad. As well as that, he's been a huge part of the great Hurricanes info committee, and of course he is an absolute lad. It is one of the greats, Mark Abbott. Welcome, Jared.
Great to be here, Jared. You know, one of the great G-ups. I'm full of confidence now. Let's go. Let's get into it.
Mate, that is a good response. I'm really feeling energetic now. So, because you are one of the great Jareds.
I'm one of many Jareds, mate. Any Jared who asks why you're a Jared becomes a Jared, and there's Jareds in several countries around the world, mate.
Who's your favourite Jared?
Oh, my big Japanese mate over here, Takashugi Genki.
Oh.
He's a great Jared.
What about Jared Broadhurst? He's the original Jared, isn't he?
Big Jared Broadhurst, the big grump, also a favourite.
So many Jareds. And have you named your child Jared?
I haven't got a child yet, but hopefully we'll have one soon, and potentially could be called Jared.
I hope they're called Jared. That'd be one of the greats. Anyway, what are you up to? What are you up to over there?
Mate, I am sitting in my tatami room with my beautiful bamboo floor here in Munakata in Japan, just taking it easy.
And season's finished. How was the year with Sanix?
Season is finished 3 weeks ago. It was not a champagne season for Sanix, unfortunately. We had a tough run of games there, but enjoyable all the same.
It's been probably fair to say you've had a pretty tough run since you've been over in Japan. Haven't won a huge amount of games, have you?
I had a funny dream the other day, and I was talking to someone and saying that since I left the Hurricanes, I've won 4 games that mean anything. So 4 games in 4 years it's been challenging, mate. It's been challenging.
What was that, the dream? Or
like I was speaking to someone, but then I woke up and I was like, well, I was speaking the truth, wasn't I? It was out of it.
What a dream.
Yeah. Accurate, mate. Always
so
accurate.
You've actually only won 4 games in 3 years.
Yeah, 2 with Sanix, 1 with the Sunwolves, 1 with Coke, and Drew 1 with Coke as well to save from relegation. So it was
true.
That's slim pickings, but you know, it makes yeah. Well, I mean, I had a few injuries, so I missed a couple of games here and there, but yeah, it just makes those wins that much sweeter, you know. Like if you're winning every week, you get a bit over it sometimes, but when you get that one win after 17 games, I tell you what, mate, it's sweet.
It's party time. And how is it at Sanix? Have you enjoyed the move?
Mate, I've actually really loved it out here. So we are about 45 minutes out of the city, so it's a little bit more rural, if anywhere in Japan is rural. But, you know, rice paddies along the road to training, and get out there, and the training ground's right next to the beach. You swim after every training. It's just, it's beautiful. Really enjoyed it out here.
Well, that's good to hear. And the club, how's the club going? Because there's been some rumours floating around.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Sanix has decided to, I assume, pull back the budget and focus on, I assume, other areas of the business. But so the rugby team is downsizing quite a bit. So yeah, the foreign numbers, foreign player numbers, and coaching staff is going to be lower for the next few years or so.
So what does that mean for the club? So
yeah, I mean, over here in Japan, a lot of people will say like the bigger your budget, the better you'll go. And I'm not going to sling any mud, but if you look at someone like a team like Kobe, well, they were strong enough mid-table, but a couple of years ago the side just put a lot of money into it, and obviously buying Daniel Carter is a good start. And then, you know, they win the championship final by 40 points. So it just shows you what you can do if you've got money. Sanix, being a smaller club with not a lot of money to throw around, has always traditionally struggled. And so with this even greater decrease in funding, it's going to be harder for them to compete in those upper echelons of top league rugby over here.
Yeah, so they're going to drop down.
So, yeah, my understanding is that, they're going to drop down a division or maybe 2, but a lot of these conversations sometimes happen in Japanese, and although I've been here a few years, I can't understand everything. So.
Oh, fair enough. And obviously there was some pretty sad news about our other team, the Coca Cola Red Sparks, last week, how they've pulled pin on their rugby program altogether.
Yeah, that was absolutely devastating to hear, to be honest. From what I understand, the boys didn't have a clue. And they went into a meeting expecting just to be told what's happening and like going forward. And the big bosses were like, that's it. We're done. No more, no rugby team. So obviously the foreign boys with families over here, it's quite stressful. But for the Japanese boys, that means literally no more rugby unless they find another team. But most of them just go back to full-time jobs.
It's sad, because there's some really good players in that team, and to think that they're now no longer going to be playing rugby, it feels like a real waste. Yeah,
it is. It's a big waste, and there's guys like my favourite Japanese player, Yusaku Kawazuru, who was Mr. Sevens, Japan Sevens captain for a long time.
Yeah,
he's given 16, 17 years to that team, and he still had more gas in the tank, and he just loved it. And then to see him retire on the back of this has been. Yeah, it's been pretty hard to watch.
So what's stopping someone like him going to another team? Do you understand all that?
Well, he was a professional, so he was able to go to another team.
Oh, yeah.
But in that space, he's 36 or 7, I can't remember. But once you get to that age, it's a bit harder to transition to other teams. He's got family here that's, his kids are in school. It's just hard to move around. So, I mean, obviously the young boys who are up and coming and want to have a crack, by all means, seek out new teams. But, the older guys, not so easy.
So do you have to go to professional to change teams or no?
Not that I am aware of. So it's difficult because, like Coca-Cola, by working there, being a part-time rugby player, part-time worker, you have a job for life, which is great security for these boys. So when rugby's pulled up stumps for them here, they can choose to go to another team, but then they forego that job for life. And Coca-Cola's a huge company, and there's a lot of opportunity there for them.
Yeah, geez, tough.
It's challenging stuff for them, I tell you what.
And obviously the foreigners, the ones that we played with over there, they'll be in a bit of a difficult situation. They'll be scrambling around for clubs too, and there's some good players there who could be a good pickup for some teams looking. Yeah,
absolutely. So obviously with Sanix and Coke both downsizing, and I hear there's a little bit going on another team in Tokyo, a lower ranked team, but that's kind of 3 teams that would take a lot of foreigners, and now that market becomes more compressed and there's less opportunity out there. So those guys I'm hopeful they'll pick up gigs here and there, but it's it's a bit of a challenging waiting game if you've got a family that relies on you.
Is it worrying times for Japanese rugby, you reckon, or is this sort of a one-off?
Potentially, because this is my limited knowledge of it, and I don't want to offend anyone, but from what I understand, the corporate rugby over here is obviously governed by the JRFU, but the companies have a lot of power. And so it's been like that for a long time, for as long as the league's been in action. And with this transition to a pro league, from what I understand, there's quite a hefty financial burden to bear to be part of that league.
Yeah.
And some teams who aren't the big budget teams are potentially thinking maybe not for us, or maybe we'll go in a different direction.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a bad sign for Japanese rugby, because I think as a whole this new pro league will probably make the game stronger over here, and make it more professional, and player welfare will be a bigger thing, which should be really good for them.
That will be a good thing, because there hasn't been a lot of that.
No, it's almost non-existent, but hey.
But anyway, something that's happened in the last few weeks, your form's been so good that you've been called into the Japanese training squad. How good's that?
Yeah, I mean, my form on just training in general must have been pretty good, because I've missed a few games, Jimmy. I had a few injuries, so apparently they like the way I get on the rower and go to work. So
you were always good on the bike, out of the saddle. You could bike for hours. Jared,
I loved the ladder, and I took the win for Cully and Surf to Peak a few years ago, a few times. So I don't mind the bike, but really excited to be part of the Japan squad. Since the World Cup, and even before that, since I got here, I saw that team and I liked the way they played. It was exciting and looked like they're just having a lot of fun, and everyone gets on really well. And I was like, I'd really like to be a part of that if I could make it, become eligible. So I've hopefully taken the first step, and now it's up to me just to perform and see where we end up.
No doubt you'll do that. So how did the call come about? Did Jamie Joe call you, or what happened there?
Well, it's 2021, James. So I got an email, which was great.
Yeah.
Just asking if I was interested, and I said 100% I'm interested. And then that was a couple of weeks before the team was announced, and then the team was announced, and that was great and all exciting, and that was where it's been left at the moment. But I'm sure to get some information soon.
You're probably supposed to be at camp last week.
Well, I'm not sure. I've been ringing a few people. No one seems to answer. So maybe it was a typo or something.
That is weird, though, eh? Just have heard nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's a fair bit going on with World Rugby schedules and calendars, and I don't know if there's actually as much information available as you'd probably expect. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. But how's your Japanese and stuff anyway? I know you were getting better while I was over there, but you must be pretty fluent now. Now you're a Japanese international.
Fluency, yeah. It's a loose word to throw in my situation, mate. But I go through phases of trying really, really hard, and I'll study every day and have my lessons and stuff, and then I'll just stop for a wee while, and yeah. But it's one of those situations where, like, I wanted to learn it to be able to just have conversations with the boys, with the teammates, to get to know each other.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard. Like, you can't just bring your translator along to a coffee every time you go out with someone. So
yeah.
And it's getting there. I don't know. Keep trying, mate.
Are you at that point where you can go for a coffee now with a Japanese guy who can't speak English?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I've been for dinner with a couple of boys, like, and with their bit of English and my little bit of Japanese, we kind of get there, and a little bit of Google Translate. Yeah. Have a few faux pas, but it's all a bit of fun, mate.
And one more thing about the Japanese, can you sing their national anthem?
I've actually been told that I should definitely learn that.
Yeah.
Before I even get close to potentially getting on the field one day.
Yeah.
So I've actually put that on the to-do list this week. So
so you don't know it yet? Can't get a wee rendition? No, go on, give us a wee something.
No, honestly, I haven't even looked at it, mate. I mean, maybe I'll just reserve that till, like, if I'm actually selected, and fingers crossed in that department, and then really just cram it all in at the end there.
Oh, because you do have a good voice. I always loved listening to you at karaoke.
That's not true. It's not true, mate. That's auto-tune.
Yeah, T-Pain.
Just that. Yeah, actually, T-Pain has a delightful voice. I heard it recently.
Oh, does
he? I heard him live. He's unbelievable.
What, without auto-tune?
Yeah, it's almost like, why didn't you perform your whole career without it? It was really good.
What, was he in Japan?
Oh, I wish. No, I don't know where I heard it. One of those, live studio things someone does on the interweb.
I thought you saw him live. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, that's cool.
No.
Because you do a lot of travel, though, and you have definitely made the most of your travel while you've been over there, haven't you?
Yeah, so that was actually mainly the reason I came over here. Well, me and my wife came over, was just to experience something different and something new. And with the New Zealand rugby schedule, you get a very small window of time off, and in that time off, you've also got to remain fit to turn up in shape. So coming over here, the attraction was that there's large amounts of time off seasons and bye weeks and stuff. So whenever we had a chance, we were pre-COVID, we were out of there, gone. Yeah, seen a few places, mate.
Yeah. Any favourites? Because you saw pretty much half the world, and I remember you going for a massive holiday. It must have been like 3 months or something, was it? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, we had a couple. Well, how long did we spend? We had a couple of months in South America last year.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, however it worked out. Yeah, like technically a honeymoon, but no, it was actually the year before. It was just great, mate. Like getting out and getting a bit intrepid and getting away from footy for a bit, and didn't have to do any training for 6 or 8 weeks, and then just gives it the body the time to repair and feel a bit better about things, and you can actually turn back up and be really hungry, ready to go. You
have been living. So go on, give me your favourite holiday spot for when COVID ends and we can go back on the aeroplane. Where are we going?
Oh, probably your house in Mapua, mate. I hear it's an absolute mansion.
Yeah, every day's a holiday out here. What a spot.
Oh, absolutely, mate. No, mate, I was real keen to go to Mongolia last year, just to just looks absolutely wild and just out of it, and want to try it out. But yeah, I mean, maybe in a year or two, see how we end up. Not sure yet.
Yeah, fair enough. Mongolia, let's put it on the cards.
Yeah, well, I heard when the Honey Badge was over here playing for Coke, he nipped off for a bye week and went, was it hawking or eagling?
Oh, yeah. What is that?
They hunt with him, and he apparently
true.
wanted to do it.
Oh, wow.
And he went out and just went for it. I was like, that sounds like a bit of me.
You love all that stuff, hey? You're right into it.
Yeah.
One of the great travellers.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, we've gone a long way through and we haven't even gone back to the start for you. One of my favourite parts of the podcast is getting to know what life was like for you growing up. So what was life for the young little Jared like in Christchurch? Because I know you're a big Christchurch man.
Yeah. Life was pretty good, mate. Simple life. Well, I grew up in Darfield, so what's that, 30-odd minutes outside of Christchurch, on a farm. I was the youngest of 4 kids, so I had it pretty easy, not going to lie. Yeah, farm life was good. The older brothers were, I don't know, maybe a little bit sick of me when I was constantly following them around. Bloody idolised them when I was a kid, eh? But no, it was good. And then went from Darfield High School into boarding school at St Andrews in Christchurch.
Oh, true.
And yeah, so I spent 5 years boarding, which was just great, mate. Just living with your best mates.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. And then when I left school, I did a gap year in the UK, which another thing I'd highly recommend if people are able to do it. It's just great to get that independence and coach a bit of footy and do a bit of travelling and drink a few beers. It was all the time.
Where did you go?
I went to Sutton Valence School, which is in it's in Kent, so just south of London.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I spent my days, geez, it was gentlemanly. I think we started at 9 and finished at maybe 3:30.
Yeah.
And I was just in the PE department, just teaching, helping out with PE. And then when there wasn't a class, I'd just get the trampoline out or get the bowling machine out and face a few balls. Like, it was just, that was great, man. So good.
And obviously at your age, you would have been having a few big nights over there in London as a young Christchurch man. Must have had a few good stories from those times.
Anyone that's spent time over in London at that age, and in the past, I don't know if it's still there, but the church was an absolute institution.
Yeah.
That I frequented a few times, and yeah, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was just debaucherous. It was great stuff.
That's a good word.
There's no other way to describe it. Like, it is what it is, and it's famous for that, so you just embrace it.
It's not going anymore, is it?
I don't think so, eh?
Yeah.
I think it might have moved on, but it was good while it lasted, as with a lot of things.
Yeah. So then what was after the gap year?
I returned to Christchurch, and I started university at Canterbury, played my footy for Christchurch Football Club, battled through some Colts and a bit of Prems there, and then I was in the academy there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
They normally keep players for 3 years, I think. And after my second year, I got called into the academy manager's office, and he was like, "Look, mate, we are not going to take you through to the next year of the academy." And I was like, "Okay, that's fair enough, mate."
What had you done?
Well, probably not enough, mate, by the sounds of it.
Were you a good trainer, though? I always am. Yeah, I mean, you've always been a good trainer, hard worker since I've known you. So were you the same back then, or were you just right into your piss?
No, I wasn't right into my piss, mate. I probably, obviously tried my hardest, but I don't know, at that age, I probably just thought there was a path to follow. So, I'd made the academy, and the natural progression of that was into playing for Canterbury, and then play for Canterbury, play for Crusaders. Like, it just, I was probably a little bit naive in terms of that's sort of the path I thought it would follow.
Yeah.
And then so for him to tell me that was not my path, and he said, go out and do this, you might end up somewhere else. And I was like, okay. So I played a year of Colts with Craig Philpott, was the head coach there at Canterbury Colts, and he had moved up to Hawkes Bay. So I gave him a call one day and I said, "Mate, are you looking for any players up there?" And he said, I am, for sure. It'd be great to have you up here, mate. I can't offer you a contract or anything, but we can get you up here, and you can play club rugby and try and crack it that way.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, that's good enough for me, mate." So I packed up my 96 Nissan Bluebird with 0 hubcaps and just drove on up there and just ripped into my work, really.
Jeez, I honestly thought you went up there with a contract. I can't believe that. That's good stuff.
Nah, mate, so I filled my car up, I golf clubs took a bit of space. Always liked my golf. And rolled up there, and I was like, I heard from a mate, and he put it in simple terms. He said, if you put yourself in a situation where the only option is to succeed, then you're more likely to succeed. Does that make sense? Yeah. So by going up there, I put myself in a situation where it's like, well, this has to work. Otherwise, A, it's a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because you come back to Christchurch with your tail between your legs to a degree. And B, this is what you really want. You got to give it everything. Otherwise you just fade out, and that'll be the end of it. Yeah. So there's some funny old times up there. Like when I rolled into Napier, I had my car, and I pulled up to. I was living at it's like a separate granny flat attached to Nick McLennan's house. He was already up there.
Yeah.
And in my house, I had a TV on the ground. I had a camp chair and a blow-up mattress. I lived on a blow-up mattress for like 6 months.
Oh, wow. That is humble.
Mate, it was like, I don't know, quite enjoyed it, eh? Like, I didn't have TV, so I had like a hard drive with a few TV shows on it. So when like movies, and I'd watch like an hour of a movie a night and go to bed. And it was humble, but it was good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Fond memories, mate. Fond memories.
Well, that's good. And you obviously got stuck into your work. You must have had an outstanding club season because you were into the Hawkes Bay side straight away. Is that right? Yeah. So
I didn't really know where I sat. So I went up there as a number 8 / blindside.
Oh yeah.
That maybe could cover lock. But after playing the majority of the club season, I called in one day and said, we want to offer you a contract. And I said, oh, great. And I said, would you be interested in 2 years? I was like, would I? So jumped at that chance. Maybe a little bit premature, but if that's something you've been wanting, you take what you can get. So I don't remember playing the greatest footy of my life, but it must have been all right. And then Grant Dearns was the trainer. He was training us hard, and I probably got as fit as I've ever been at that stage of my life. And I think that's translated through into ITM Cup. And it's probably sat with me most of my career, mate. I feel like I play my best footy when I'm like really fit.
Yeah.
So I don't know, some people do other things other ways, but I feel that gives me, I just feel like I'm more in the game, I'm more accurate, get to more places, do more things. And it's pretty simple philosophy. So I've learned that lesson. Well, I didn't learn it in Christchurch, but I learned it in Hawkes Bay, and it's served me pretty well so far.
Yeah, no doubt. Look at you now. How good. So what was it like going into that Hawkes Bay setup?
Mate, there's some living legends there. Carl Lowe, one of the greats. Moo Coman.
Oh, he was there too.
The People's Champ.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh,
Chris Eaton. Was Chris Eaton there?
Chris Eaton, one of the greatest dirtbags you've ever met. No, great guy. Love him. Mate, roll into that team, and Albie Mathewson was there, and I'm sitting there going, oof, there's some pretty big dogs here, eh? Somehow I got thrown in the coalface as a lock, and must have played all right in the first couple of games, and then I got a call from Hammer one day, and he's like, mate, going to come to Hawkes Bay to have a yarn to you if you can, but maybe join the Hurricanes. I was like, you're probably having a laugh, but go on then, mate. So, it happened a hell of a lot faster than I thought it would.
Yeah.
It was bloody exciting times, to tell you what.
So was it after your first year with Hawkes Bay you got that call from Hammer?
5 games, I think.
Oh wow, jeez, instant impact.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe he was seeing something that some other people weren't before that. But no, man, obviously very grateful to Potsy and then obviously to Hammer and stuff for giving me the chance and giving you that confidence to know that you maybe you do actually belong at that level.
Yeah. And you obviously had a couple of tough finishes to your first 2 years at Hawkes Bay, losing a couple of finals, was it?
A couple of tough years, mate. I still remember them so well, mate. What was it? He had the kick to win against Tasman in 2013.
That's it.
And a tough kick, mate. And he gave it a pretty good nudge. It just wasn't straight enough.
Were you feeling confident when he was lining it up? Did you think he was going to get it?
I mean, he can kick, mate. He's a gun. And so I was like, we could be on here. And obviously, didn't work out. And then the ruthless Marco supporters, and there's, God love him, just giving it to him after, you effed up. And I was like, mate, you won the game. Do you need to, just absolutely dragged God ever. So, yeah, so that was a tough one. And then the following year we did everything the same, and then I think we got pretty well beaten by a man or two in the final again. Obviously, being our next door neighbours, it's always a bit of a sour contest, you know. So.
Yeah. That looked like a good occasion too, though. Obviously, the smaller regions, when they're hosting finals, always seems to bring some good energy.
Oh, 100%, mate. Like, to be honest with you, got a lot of friends in that man or two team, and like, I was as happy for them, you know, as much as I'd like, you know, would have liked to have won it. Like, it was awesome that a smaller team like that won it and got promoted and whatnot. And
then I think they got relegated the following year anyway. And you guys got to win it the following year. Was that right? Third time lucky?
Third time lucky, mate. We had Wellington at home, and it must have been, I think it was 25-24 or something. That was, it was an absolute nail biter.
Oh.
Got the W there, and the boys bloody ripped in. Like, well, obviously we'd lost the Shield 2 weeks before that, so that was a bit sour. But then this tasted a bit better, mate. It was all good.
How was that end of year do? Was the one you won way better than the ones you lost, or was it all pretty much? Were they all pretty good dues?
Oh, Chris Eaton runs a great cordy, mate. Yeah, they were always just fantastic. That's all I can say.
And what about with the Shield? Was it the same when you won the Shield, or had that sort of tapered off? Because who was it? Was it Moo talking about the 3-day turnaround or something, and they still got absolutely hammered before they lost it the following week? Were you involved then?
I don't really remember much of that game, but I remember the feeling after winning that Shield in Dunedin, and it was just the greatest feeling. Like, yeah, pretty satisfying. Like, just unbelievable. And the boys, that was a Sunday, and we absolutely lost the plot in Dunedin, which is easy to do. And then couldn't quite turn up against counties the following week, but it was a great 6 days or whatever while it lasted, mate.
So good. But you guys, Hawkes Bay seem to get Shield challenges at least once or twice a year. They love the Shield.
Yeah, I don't know who's doing it. I don't know who's doing the schedules, but he clearly works for Hawkes Bay, which is great, so we'll keep him on.
I think Tasman have had 2 or 3 since they've started, like maybe 2 ever in their whole entire history of the region. Unbelievable. Unbelievable,
mate. Yeah, that Shield is it's a glorious thing, mate. Like, gets around, like, Hawkes Bay is great at showing it to everyone in every school, and everyone gets a part of it, which is awesome.
Oh, it is a good thing. And then talk to me about your Hurricanes career, going into the Hurricanes environment. How was that? Obviously, it happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, it happened quickly. Similar situation, you walk in day one, and like your locker's next to Jeremy Thrush and Dane Coles, and they're like, a couple of the absolute greats.
What was it like being next to Dane Coles in the locker room? I'm sure a lot of people want to. Does he give you a niggle in the locker room?
He's just a niggly guy, isn't he? Like, he's from he's from Pram, so he's always going to be a niggly guy. And even in the locker room, mate, he's pushing you and shoving you. Oh, it's just a bit of fun. You're like, come on, Dane, grow up, mate. You're 30 years old, mate. You got kids, just come on. It's not that. He's actually a lovely guy, mate. He's a really nice guy. But I think there's so many people out there that will look at Colesy and go, like, if they don't know him, they're like, oh, he loves a niggle. But when he's on your team, you love that he loves the niggle. Like, you get him behind it. Get into it, Colesy.
So good, eh?
Gets
you up, yeah.
It does get you up, mate. Oh,
what about Thrashy? What was he like having next year? These two guys have obviously both come on Waterloo before, so it's good to get some insight onto them from someone else's perspective.
Thrasher, a lot of energy. Love him. Mate, I learned a lot from Thrashy in 2 years I had with him there. Like, It was just great to mirror him and watch him and just see what he does and pick up little things. I remember I got my Super Rugby debut was first game of the year against the Sharks at the Shark Tank in Durban. Reasonably daunting task for a young fella. And we had a line-out session somewhere during the week, and I've been out doing what you do in Durban. You go shark diving or playing golf or whatever.
You did go shark diving. Oh, geez, that's another story in itself. That was one of the worst trips ever.
That was a couple of years later. But we'll get into that in a second. But I think I played golf. We came back and we just did this like walk-through line-out session. And like obviously I started with Thrushy and you want to take a chance. And like I stuffed up a couple of the calls. Yeah. And then afterwards he like gets the boys in and just absolutely blast us as a collective, but purely directed at me. And I was like, oh, okay. I learned my lesson here. Like, that's the expectation.
Yeah.
I know now.
Yeah. Oh,
So, yeah.
Oh, that's
It was good, mate. It was a good lesson to learn early on.
yeah. Got to have someone tell you the truth, eh? But let's
Oh,
talk
100%.
talk to me about that shark diving experience. What was that like for you? Because I've got a great photo of you deep under the water with big sharks swimming around you. It's one of the great photos.
Oh, mate. Look, whatever we drove, if I remember right, about 2 hours south to this reasonably dodgy looking port, and you jump on this boat and there's like waves crashing, and he's just waiting, and then he just fangs it in this like fiberglass oversized dinghy, and you're like, this can't be right. And he just cruises us out over far, half an hour or so. And then he stops, and there's other boats around, and like, you're like, okay, sweet. So obviously no cage, which we'd agreed to and signed the waivers and whatnot. And then you're like, oh, yeah, sweet. So I'm going to jump in there, and then I'm all good. And then you start seeing the fins like touching the surface. You're like, am I all good? Like, honestly thought, as I was sitting on the side of the boat, I was like, what have I done in my life to end up at this point where I'm about to jump into shark-infested water? It's like, why am I doing this?
Were you seasick like everyone else, or were you all right? Because I remember everyone was spewing, hey, and I was.
I was the only one that was all right, mate.
Were you? Oh.
So we were only in the water for half an hour or so, but yeah. I just remember, like, I think Matty Proctor went first, and then, you might have been second, and then Fats lasted a while, and then he was churning up. But honestly, by the end of it, I was the only one left, and I was swimming around. It was just like little bits of meat, and, like white rice floating. I was like, this is no good.
So
the boys are absolutely foul. Eh? That was grim.
Oh, one of the great trips.
All time.
Oh, I can't believe you didn't get sick. What a sailor.
Oh, iron stomach, mate. That's what they call me over here.
Do they? You never spew.
No, they don't.
I was going to say, you're always spewing on the pass.
Hey. Settle down, mate.
Oh, but what about another thing that I remember about you, obviously, at the Hurricanes is your info committee. You were recruited in your very first year at the Hurricanes. The best signing, potentially, of all time for the info committee. Any good memories from your times in that committee?
Obviously, one of the greatest honours of my life. Obviously, sits above marrying my wife, winning the Ranfurly Shield, winning Super Rugby, like all of those pale in comparison to, the initial signing into the info committee. I was very stoked. It's a prestigious committee. We did a lot of work. We were, I don't know how you put it. We were the team barometer.
Yeah.
Anyone got a little bit out of hand, you just whack them down a couple. Bit of subtle humour. Potentially sometimes went a bit far and probably not so PC, but it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that, mate.
Did you? What? You and Reggie? Oh, so good. Any pranks that stand out for you? You obviously did a few good ones.
I think you played the one with Waddy. When we managed to sucker him into not getting a flight refund or whatever it was. It's probably not okay to say on here, but Vince Ussel's one when he spoke to the doctor about his
checkup.
I don't know if you can put that one up, but that's probably the greatest prank I've ever heard. The one, I've got it if you want me to send it through, but the one where we convinced Nani that he needed to wear dreadlocks in his first game to honour Martin on it.
Yeah, I have played that one. Yeah,
it's so good. So honest. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I was like, thanks, mate.
I think you've done a couple others that I haven't got any audio on. You did a Ben Lamb one, didn't you? Beef and lamb.
Oh, I might have that actually on my phone.
Maybe that's one that you could send through for good times from Jim. Yeah. And Rito with Speedo. I think these two were a couple when I was involved when I was over in England, but you came up trumps with a couple of good ones.
It's amazing how gullible the boys are straight off the bat when they first arrive. Like,
I know,
just eager to please, like just too easy.
Well, it was always exciting, You'd see the team named and stuff for the year, and you start writing down all the new guys, and you're like, righto, first.
He's a mug. We'll get him.
It's this big list. I'm trying to come up with ideas. Some good memories. All right. Another thing was, the Nick Nominate. Do you remember the Nick Nominate video that you and Reggie did? I found that
Oh,
on my phone the other day.
You still got it?
Still got it. It's blurry
I'll
because
send
it
it
was it was recorded a long time ago, but it cracked me up again. So good.
Oh, yeah. I would really like to see it again, mate. I thought that was lost to the archives, but yeah, great stuff.
I found it in the archives, and I think that was the night Reggie pranked our nutritionist Rico. Remember that one? Oh, yeah, man. Oh, these are okay to put up. You've got to put these up for the masses, mate. They'll appreciate it. Oh, I'm sure they will. I can't find that Rico one either, actually. But
yeah, it'll be there.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere deep in the archives. So then, let's get to your Canes career. Obviously, your debut, that obviously went pretty well against the Sharks. But what happened then? You didn't get a huge amount of game time that first season, did you? You're behind a couple of All Blacks.
Yeah, I played a total of 2 games. Obviously, the debut, and then a few weeks later, I played maybe the Highlanders, I think. And then I spent the rest of the time you can get cynical on it, say holding tackle bags, getting smashed, but really just learning, just watching and learning, and trying to soak up as much as I can, because it's where you want to be. So you got to understand the standard and get to that level. So still a great year. Love being around the boys and kind of that. And then at the end of that year, Hammer and Alama were finishing up, and Bordy and Plum were starting. Yeah. So I had a meeting with Bordy at the end of that year, and he said, look, mate, we'd like to sign you, but we haven't seen you play enough, obviously, this year. So go back to ITM Cup and give it your best crack, and we'll see where we end up. And so I went back and just gave my 100% and thought I was playing pretty well. And I was like, okay, I might be in here. Who knows? And nothing had come through. And Richard Watt was like, you getting anything, mate? Like, what's going on? Because Watty was always in my corner.
Yeah.
Love him for that. And then, it got to the last day on signing day.
True.
I think it's a 5 o'clock cut off it was like a Tuesday or a Thursday.
Yeah.
And nothing had come through. And I was like, right, so I'm going to have to, obviously with Hawkes Bay still, I'm going to have to figure out a job and everything for next year and just go with that. And I was out playing golf with Brendan O'Connor, and it was obviously 5 o'clock shut off. It was maybe 4:20. I was on the tee, and I get this phone call, and it's Warren Alcott, my agent. He's like, mate, Canes come through. They got an offer. Can you get to Hawkes Bay Union offices and sign it before 5 o'clock? I was like, can I? Just gapped it straight away. I was there within 5 minutes. Done. I was like, oh, thank God.
Man, that's loose, eh?
Mate, it's like it shows you how perilous the rugby world is. I don't know how many what your listening numbers are like here and what people think it's like for professional rugby players, mate. But at any stage, it can be taken away from you. Yeah. And there's absolutely no job security. And people say it's it's part of the job. You get paid mega bucks. We don't get paid mega bucks. You get it right. But you're an injury away. You're a coach's opinion away from having no job and no security, no nothing. So it can be quite stressful, eh?
Yeah, for sure. So was that a 2-year deal that you signed?
No, it was a 1-year deal.
1 year. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you impressed them enough that year. Was this 2015 or? So
that was 2015. So roll back in 2015, and obviously Martin Nonu was there, and that was just great because he's a phenomenal player, and he was just one of the lads, getting around the boys, and just super generous guy. So it was just the team started to get this kind of energy, and I think Thrushy must have had. I think he had, after flying to Africa for the first game, he had something in his calf, maybe like a blood clot or some kind of small tear. Oh, yeah. And so he unfortunately got flown home, and then I got the opportunity to start the first 4 games with big Jared Broadhurst.
Oh, the 2 Jareds.
Yeah, which was exciting. So a couple of Jareds in the second row, they're going for it, which was awesome. And after those 4 or 5 games, Thrushy started to come back in, but I still was there as that kind of reserve lock kind of thing. Yeah. And Bordy and Plum obviously thought that I was played a decent enough footy. So then from then I got a 2-year contract after that. So that provided that security, and it was good to have that surety and be where I wanted to be. I love the Canes, and I wanted to be a part of it going forward. So.
And were you on the bench in the final?
I was on the bench in the final. Yeah, I got about 10 minutes of action. And obviously, pretty disappointing day for the Hurricanes and the Hurricanes supporters, but equally a fantastic day for Highlanders supporters and players. So happy for them. But so I didn't get on in that game, which was bitter. It was a bitter pill to take, but the coaches have their reasons.
Yeah.
The worst thing, mate, was so I didn't play, right? And then we're sitting there watching the Highlanders get their medals, and then this fella walks up and taps you on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, mate, you got to come for a drug test." And I was like, I don't even play. Like, why are you coming to me? I was absolutely fuming. And so, I'm pretty sure it's worked out that it's me, maybe I can't remember who else. And then the Highlanders players getting drug tested, Richard Buckman and Brendan Edmonds, two Hawkes Bay boys who just absolutely gave it to me. I was just, this is rough. This is rough, mate. So.
Oh, that is rough memories. That must have been tough sitting on the bench for that whole game. Did you feel like you could have added something if they got you on?
You always think you can add something, mate. Like in that situation, the boys are starting to get tired. If you came on, you're going to give it 100. You might have to provide that little bit of energy to do something, but you provide energy to the players around you. And I would have loved the opportunity to do that, but it wasn't to be. So
and a drug test to cap it off.
And then, get to pee in a bottle while some fella watches me, which was just brilliant.
What a night. But obviously the following year was a lot more successful. Talk me through your 2016 memories.
Mate, so we rolled in. We'd obviously lost the final, and everyone was saying, we've had a big exodus of players. We lost Conrad and Ma'a and Thrashy. Yeah, and then obviously big James Broadhurst had his bloody unfortunate concussion problem from ITM Cup the year before, so he was out. So we lost a lot of All Blacks, we lost a lot of depth, and they were kind of writing us off, which was disappointing. And then obviously we underperformed in the first two games. We got pumped, obviously 52 something against the Brumbies game one, and then lost the Landers by a bit game two, and then everyone's like, worst Hurricanes team ever. And we didn't believe that, obviously. We knew we were capable of something here.
Yeah. Were you starting then?
I started the first couple, maybe, I don't know how long I lasted, maybe 6 games or so.
Oh, yeah.
And then I smoked my neck at training one day, ran into the Tongan Bear's hip, which is, I don't recommend for anyone. And then I spent a week trying to get right, played, but I wasn't right and didn't play very well. And not that this is a reason, but they decided after that Vire and Fats would basically become the locking duo, and they played phenomenally well, mate, and they were a big part of the Hurricane success that year. So, I'm not bitter about that. I think they were the right men for the job, and they were having phenomenal seasons, and it meant that the team went well. And so, I've always been the kind of guy that, I'm team first, so I'll do whatever I can to help the team. I'm not going to spill my milk and drop my lip and do whatever you do. So
So when we got to the finals footy, you were on the bench again?
Yeah, so I was on the bench for the final, and
any nightmares about not getting on?
I can't remember, mate, to be honest. I just remember it being finals week, and I just knew we were going to win.
Did you? Just knew it.
I don't know. I don't know if anyone else thinks this, but I just felt in the second half of that season when we turned it around after losing to the Chiefs at home, and we decided we wanted to be a defense team, a rush defense team, and it was pretty. I don't know what the right word is. It was organic at the start, but we're just going to be a rush team. There was no method to it all. It just started happening, and we just started becoming this rush defense team, and then when we got to I think it was a quarter, semi, and a final quarter against the Chiefs, it was just a horrendous day. It was windy, rainy, Wellington, and I knew that. Well, we all know that when it's wet, it's a lot harder to attack. So it's way better to be a defensive team on those days. Yeah. So obviously we dispatched the Chiefs, and then the next week we had
Sharks.
Do we have the Sharkies? We had the Sharkies. There you go. Same thing.
That was the day. Well, yes, shocking weather.
That was rough old day, and me and Cully were living together, and we were both we're on here. We're just going to do it again. The boys got up, defended, squeezed them out of the game, and then when the final came around, it was pretty much the same.
Yeah, it was. It was shocking.
It was
Freezing.
Shocking, shocking, windy, rainy. Like, and I was like, I seen the forecast from a week. I was like, we're on here. We're just not losing this game. Like, we're just not. I just knew it. So,
mate, I've had a lot of guys, obviously from the Hurricanes, who played in that game on the podcast, and they all say the same thing, that they just knew they were going to win that game. I didn't feel the same, because I felt the same the year before against the Landers. I felt like we were just going to win that game, but obviously we didn't. So going into that Lions game, I always felt like, I feel like we should win it, but I'm not as confident as everyone else who obviously knew that we were going to win it. But, mate, obviously that confidence worked. Yeah,
it did. It did. Corey Jane caught that glorious ball on the line and scored that try. Put us, 20 points up, and it was just like, see you later, game's over.
Shut it out. I think Bodie scored a freakish try as well, out of nowhere.
Yeah, the golden one. Golden one.
So gifted. And the following year, I'd left by then, but I think you played the British and Irish Lions that year. Is that right?
Yeah, so we played the Lions. So
how was that?
What was that? It was June. That was phenomenal. So obviously in my 4 years at the Canes, I was lucky enough to see, like, obviously the two finals we had at home plus the semi and quarter, I think, like the Cape Tin at full capacity, which is not that easy to do. So like I experienced that stadium and it was just awesome. But there's something about the Lions, like running out onto that field, there was fire going, and like there's that many more seats, and like New Zealand fans are fantastic, but they're pretty reserved, But the Lions fans were just absolutely going for it, like, and it was the most amazing feeling to run onto that field and then play that game, like. And obviously it was the midweek Lions, so they've got other motivations, but like we gave it everything we could and ended up it was a draw. But the whole experience is just something mate, I don't even know what the Lions was when I was a kid, but like it's something you dream of, mate. It was just it was an epic experience.
Yeah, it looked like an awesome occasion. But that year you wasn't as successful. You guys got knocked out in the semis or quarters over in Joburg. I remember watching.
So we got to the semis and we were playing the Lions there, and we probably, I don't know if everyone agrees with this, but I think we probably overtrained that week at altitude.
Oh, really?
And so the boys were like, because we got there early and we were, Davey Gray, mate, he's no good. But the boys we got there early and we were like, recovered really quick, and like we were, everyone was feeling really good, and like, so you end up doing a little bit more than potentially you should in a semi-final week at altitude. Yeah. And so obviously we came out of the gate strong and we were up 20-odd to
21 nil, I think, to start. It was
half time.
Yeah, right.
And so it's like, here we go, the Canes are firing today. And then in the second half, like, they started to crawl back into it and then just started to overtake us, and then we were just gassed, mate. Like, that was the end of it, which was, that was bloody disappointing. Not the way we wanted to finish, and not really the way I wanted to finish my time at the Canes. But,
How did you find playing at altitude?
It just burns a bit more. Like, it's just you're not like heaving for air, I didn't find, but like it's that like sharp burn in your throat that like no amount of water you drink just gets rid of it. That's what I find. Oh man, get the same feeling after running a Bronco. Like you're just like sculling water, and it's just like, why are you not putting out that fire? It's so annoying.
Oh, true. So when did you sign for Japan?
Must have been about January of that year.
Oh, at the start. And what was your reason? What was your reason for the for signing over there?
Like I just I wanted to experience something new and travel and try living in a different country, a different culture and stuff like that. And I played it right, but I hadn't had the most successful Super Rugby career. And I was like, all right, time to go try something new. And obviously, I played reasonably well that year, and everyone was like, "Oh, you signed in Japan too early, mate." And I was like, "Mate, potentially the reason I'm playing well is because I have no stress, like because I'm relaxed, I know what I'm doing." So, 6 one, half dozen the other. So
so obviously no regrets about that, because you did have a really good season that year before you left. Yeah,
I guess like I wrote down. I think I've still got my goals I wrote before that season, but I wrote that I wanted to leave Wellington and the Canes with no regrets. Like just know that I've done the full preseason. I've trained as hard as I can. I've tried as hard as I can, and if I play 0 games or I play all the games, I know I've given it my best to leave on those terms. So I felt like when I left, I was like, I'm happy, happy to have given it what I can,
And what was it like going over to Japan? Very new experience, new country. How was it for you?
Wild. Nah, mate. So, like, obviously, anyone that's been to Japan knows there's a lot of things that are very different over here. And it's anyone that comes over here, the faster you can adapt and assimilate and put your blinkers on to a degree, the faster you'll come to enjoy it and love this place. Yeah, like there's some just mind-boggling rules and ways of doing things that you look at it and just have a wee laugh to yourself and carry on and either conform or don't conform. No, yeah, you can just play the foreigner card and people are like, oh, he doesn't understand. You're like, I don't. So, yeah.
What are your 3 favourite or worst favourite rules over there?
This is not a crazy one, but this is just one that happened to me yesterday. I went to the pool to do some swimming for a bit of training.
Yeah.
And I jumped in and I hit my watch. I was like, sweet, let's go. And I did one length and the guy comes up and goes, sorry, mate, no watches in the pool. I was like, I need it for my timing and distance. He goes, use that big clock over there. I was like, okay, mate, whatever you say. So take the watch off and carry on, It's just like, there's no reason for it other than the fact that it's a rule and he knows he can enforce it. So he did it. So, so it's little ones like that where you're like, this is a little bit pointless, but hey, we'll just follow it. So
yeah, for sure. Any other good ones?
I have come to enjoy how they back into car parks.
Oh, yeah. Everyone has to back in, eh? I remember getting told off first time I drove into the car park forwards. The man ran over, knocked on my window, and he's like, no, reverse. I was like, oh, jeez. I just thought everyone did it. I didn't know it was a rule.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I don't know. Like, it looks real neat, and it makes a lot of sense because it's safer probably to back in, and then as you're pulling out, you can see where you're going. You're not going to crash the cars and everything. But like, the one that cracks me up is they'll back into the car park, and then full knowing that they've got to get out of the car and get something out of the boot, but they can't even get into the boot because they're parked too close to the other car. Yeah. Or like they've going to Costco or going grocery shopping, they've got the groceries in the boot, and you're like, well, you can't put your stuff in your boot, can you? Because you're backed in. Like, okay, it's all good.
And the toilets? How have you found the toilets?
I avoid the hole in the ground ones. Just don't do it.
Yeah. What about the fancy robot ones with all the squirty things?
I think I'll probably get one when I move back to New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, you enjoy it, yeah.
Oh, it's just, the seat's heated. You can turn it on, you can turn it off if you want. Obviously, there's I don't know what you call that thing, the cleaning nozzle thing, and then the whole tap on top. So you flush the toilet.
Yeah. People
understand this. You flush the toilet, and then the tap, you wash your hands into the basin, and the basin fills up to then, using the next toilet flush. So it's like
efficient.
It's just efficient, mate. It's just efficient. Smart.
That's it. Oh, some good memories. Take me back. But what about playing? You're going over to play with the Coca Cola Red Sparks. How was it? How was it adapting to that level of rugby?
Yeah. So I think when I first turned up, I was surprised at the speed of the game. The physicality was less when I first arrived. You'd come out of a game knowing you've ran around a lot, but not as sore as Super Rugby, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that physicality has slowly increased over the last 4 seasons I've played here.
True.
And so there actually starting to be some reasonably decent sized fellas who have in the gym a fair bit, and you've played a game after nowadays, and the skill set, the boys are skillful, but it's probably the rugby knowledge and vision and stuff like that you just. Yeah, it comes from just playing touch as a kid and, having the freedom as a kid to just go at it. But it's very structured over here in the way they learn rugby. Yeah. So it's a little bit robotic.
And what about the foreigner rule? Obviously, there's pretty much 5 world-class players on the field for each team at the moment. Has it had a massive influence? Yeah,
for some teams, for sure. So, Bodie Barrett has been worth his weight in gold over here. He's played phenomenally well for the Suntory, which has been... Well, it's been a pleasure to watch, to be honest. But, so some teams you'll roll up and, you have any number of international players playing. You can only play 3 capped, so internationally capped players in one team and 2 on the field at a time. So, for example, we played Kubota Bernard Foley and Malcolm Marks were starting, and Ryan Crotty was on the bench, and then one will change.
Yeah.
But the reffing is sometimes hard to understand over here.
That's a good point, because it's shocking over there, and it's something as a part of the game that, I mean, they've spent a lot of money on the competition now, and they've got a really good competition, but the reffing is just so poor. And I know that I think the refs only get 50 New Zealand dollars a game, and they have to pay for their own travel, because Aso San was a ref, and he said that. And I mean, it just makes no sense. They got to start investing a little bit more in the refereeing.
Yeah, like that. A ref's a ref, and they're doing their best out there. And I'm not going to begrudge a referee for officiating a game for, like you say, not a lot of money and no financial gain. But there's a weird phenomenon over here whereby if you're a lower ranked team, and people who play for lower ranked teams know exactly what I'm talking about. If you play a higher ranked team, like, you're just not going to get anything. Like, you're not going to get any calls go your way. Like, it's really, really hard not to lose your call sometimes, because the calls are just not fair.
Yeah.
So, like, honestly, we played Kubota this year. Malcolm Marks got maybe 7 turnovers in the game, and maybe 2 of them were okay. The rest of them, like, he didn't even touch the ball on a couple, and or the guy would tackle and he would literally be touch the ball penalty straight away. And it's just like, because Malcolm Marks is good at jackling, the ref's always looking at Malcolm Marks when he's jackling, and it must always be a penalty if he doesn't get the ball. So we're like, oh man, this is painful.
You need a good reputation, and the game's easy. You're away.
Not even joking.
Jeez, that's crazy. Yeah. But another thing you did, you had your stag do over in Japan at Fukuoka. Any good?
No, that was your 30th. It was your 30th, I think, mate.
What do you remember about your stag do?
I remember Johan Bardell coming in as the stag master, running the whole cutter. Bloody rules here, rules there. You can't point. You can't talk about code. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm like, all right, boss, you're in charge, mate. And he broke every rule, and he was gone by 8 o'clock. So that was potentially his stag, not mine. I don't know.
Well, I was loving that, because he really wanted to get you and me hammered, but he ended up being gone burger before we'd even started. One of the greats.
He stitched himself up. It was great stuff. But the rest of the night was just awesome. Had a couple of the Japanese boys in with us there, and like, I don't know if they've been on too many stags. I'm not sure if they do that over here, but they all dressed up as minions and seemed to have a fun old time, so that was great.
Yeah. Oh, and what about the plans going forward for Jared?
So I'm in a bit of a what's the right word? Bit of flux at the moment. Another word for you, mate.
Hey, mate, you've been impressive with your big words. I reckon there's been 3 or 4 which I'm questioning whether I know what they mean or not. So that's good from you.
Wrote them down before I came in, mate.
Well, you've got them out.
No, I haven't actually. But so Senex has decided to downsize a bit. So I was told pretty early on in that process that I wasn't going to be re-signed here. Oh. Really wanted to stay here, like really enjoy the environment. Like, obviously love it here with the beach and golf courses everywhere. So that was, bit of a shock to the system. And then obviously now it's up to the agent to find me a new team. And that's been 3 or almost 4 weeks now, and it's a slow process. I've had a bit of interest, but nothing's really come through concrete yet. So obviously being in that situation, like, it's, as I said earlier, like, people that operate outside of rugby don't realise that, like, effectively I've just been made redundant. So like, and if for whatever reason a team chooses not to pick me up, then I've got no income, haven't been working in a career for a long period of time. Like, you basically start from scratch. So, that's been a little bit stressful recently, but I think it's going to work out for the best. And hopefully, maybe in the next couple of weeks, I should hopefully sign up with a new team, which would be good.
True. But as a Japan international, surely that's someone's going to have to pick you up, no?
I don't know. Yeah, well,
you think so, wouldn't you?
I don't know. Yeah, I certainly hope so. So the rules have changed a little bit over here, from what I understand, that if you are eligible to play for Japan, then you become effectively a local player.
Yeah. So that's a massive bonus for you personally, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. So my situation, it's not as bad. So I'm quite lucky in that respect. There's a lot of boys here. One, for example, is Jason Emery. Like, he has a young family and the same thing has happened to him, but he's not in the same boat as me. So it's just that little bit harder to get a gig, to, get a contract. So like it's been tough.
True, man, that is tough. Well, I'm sure the Japanese clubs listening to What a Lad, they'll all be scrambling over you after listening to this, because they know what a lad you are and what an impact you would have on any team, info included.
I wish I'd prepared something to, put my name out there. I could like give a little 30-second blurb about why they need me, mate. What do you reckon?
Go on. Off the cuff. Let's hear it.
Can do info in 2 languages. Great for team banter. Always tries hard.
Oh, you summed it up in 7 seconds. What a great summary. But if your career did end right now, what would Big Jared do?
Yeah, that's what I'm probably not quite sure of yet, and that's an avenue I need to probably explore a lot more. So in New Zealand, they're really good with pushing PD, doing personal development outside of rugby.
Yeah.
And like I got a degree and that's all good, but very little work experience. So to know what you're really qualified in is probably what I need to figure out, and probably a lot more like what I want to do. I don't really know what I want to do yet, which is going to be something I need to figure out, because that transition from rugby, although I haven't done it, I've read enough about it to know that if you don't have anything that you're passionate about, it makes that transition just that much harder.
100%.
And I really don't want to be in that situation. So, exploring avenues and whatnot. But maybe I could. I thought you were going to be a bloody harness race driver.
Yeah, well, that's still the plan, but I got so many gigs coming up, I just had to put that on hold. Do they take 110 kilo fellas? Or apparently it doesn't make a difference. Well, that's what Bago says, but he never drove many winners.
No, he didn't. Well, he drove our horse and it didn't really win much, did it?
Yeah. Oh, that's how we roll.
Howie, one of the great horses.
Oh, what a journey. Anyway, Jared, as always, I've gone to the Instagram for some questions. And, mate,
okay,
people love Jared's, especially the big Jared. Okay, first question is from Chris Eaton. Ask him how his and Allardyce's first conditioning session coming to Hawkes Bay was.
Grant Dern's run an absolute, a murderous bloody fitness session in this field in the middle of Havelock North. I thought I handled it pretty well, but Michael Allardyce did not handle it at all well. The poor fella hadn't done probably any fitness in a while, and he'll agree with me on this one. And it was crawling and different levels of squats and all this kind of stuff that really loaded up the pins.
Yeah.
And then Mikey, poor old Mikey was he was like Bambi on ice, mate. He was just like, legs were locking out. He's like, he couldn't walk. It was just, one of the greatest memories of my life. I should have walked around like that.
And you just dominated it. You were sweet.
I wouldn't say I dominated it, but I was okay enough to know that he was really struggling and enjoy it, you know?
Oh, it always makes it easier, when you see someone battling twice as much. Oh, good stuff. Okay. This is a weird one. Are you and Dane Cole's brothers?
We're not brothers, but define the term brother, mate. I mean, it's 2021. Things are different. Like
brothers.
I mean, like, I'm going to say like, yeah, he's my brother, but then he might also say like, they don't actually like Abbo. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, weird question. Okay. How loose would you get at an NSOC do back at Canterbury Uni?
I wasn't an engineer, so probably not quite as loose as the engineers themselves, but I went to a few of their barbecues and it's what dreams are made of, mate. Like you walk in, there's like a pathway you got to follow around, you grab your beer, you drink your beer, and then you jump back in the queue, and you just keep going round and round and round and round and round and round. Like, and this is Friday afternoon. You finish your lectures. You're 18 years old. You're like, this is just fantastic. Yeah, it was worth it. They were great. They were great.
Sounds like you had some good loose times at uni. Next question, Hugh Renton. Ask him if he still takes the team forks home.
Oh, get a grip, Huey. Mate, I took a few forks home, right? Like once or twice, but I always brought them back. I was actually notorious for bringing the forks back.
Were you? Oh.
But it was a strange phenomenon in the Hurricanes kitchenette, like 50 knives, 50 spoons, 1 fork. And then Tony Ward go and buy another 50 forks, chuck them in there. Within a week, 1 fork again. Like, no, how does that even happen? Like, and I knew I was bringing mine back, so I don't know who was taking it.
Yeah, something dodgy. I do remember a prank. Was it you who called Motu about stealing the shoes, the gym shoes?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't know if it went down too well.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Who knows where the forks went? Okay. Any aspirations of coming back to the duck pond?
Darfield Duck Pond. Darfield was my original rugby club when I was just a young fella. Started there when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 probably. Yeah, I do actually hold aspirations. I'd love to come back and play for Darfield.
Oh.
Great. There's still a lot of guys that they're playing for the Darfield senior team that, you know, I knew played with when I was kids.
True.
You know, it'd be awesome just to get back there and play again, where it all started, kind of to a degree. But I don't know, I might be a broken old man by that stage, but gotta give it a crack, you know.
Yeah, hopefully not this year.
No, hopefully not.
Okay, this will be a good one. Nate Vella, he always asks good ones. What really happened to the ankle in Brisbane on the lime scooter that day before the game versus the Reds?
No. Look, so I'd rolled one ankle at training on the Monday, and it was pretty bad. And early in the week, they were like, "Oh, look, we won't play you this week because of your ankle. We'll get it right for next week." And I was like, "Okay, I'm pretty disappointed. I probably could play." So then, throughout the week, I've been doing non-member stuff, so going to the gym and stuff to do the extra training. And I was riding down to the gym one day on a lime scooter, and I got a bit close to the curb, and the curbs in Brisbane are just a little bit bigger, and I kind of lost my balance and just went to step off, and cognition was a bit low, and I've just rolled the ankle, and and then jumped back on. I was like, ooh, and rode all the way down to the gym and got there, and it was just like an egg was just blowing up in my ankle.
Oh, wow. Dan
Pryor is just like, "Are you okay, mate? Like, that's absolutely nuts." And I was like, I got to go, mate. I got to go back and ice this thing up because this is not a good look. Like, this was my good ankle, so I've gone ahead and rolled both ankles in 1 week.
Oh, wow.
And I've told a wee fib. I've said I've slipped off the curb and rolled my ankle, but I was actually riding the lime scooter to the gym for team activities. But I mean, it's still a curb, but yeah, not great.
Yeah, we didn't even get to touch on your Sunwolves times, but that was obviously it sounded like a pretty loose year, like some good times to be had on and mainly off the field.
It was a awesome team to be a part of. Like, when we arrived there, we knew we were to a degree like a bunch of offcuts from other Super Rugby teams and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and we got in and we got around that, and we had some really, really good rugby players there, and had it not been for a lot of player rotation moving in and out with the Japan squad preparation,
yeah,
we probably would have actually played a lot of good footy and won quite a few games that year, I believe. But yeah, great team to be a part of. A lot of travel, a lot of fun times. Mate, I literally lived in a hotel for 6 months, didn't do my washing once, never did dishes. It was crazy, absolutely crazy.
Okay, 2 more questions. Hardest player to tackle?
Mike Kainga.
Mike Kainga, was he?
He just gave me so many stingers. I don't know what it was. Nani is obviously immensely hard to tackle.
Oh, I remember a good one
just...
of Nani when he first arrived in the camp. You were partnered up with him.
Yeah, he just he's just so quick. He can just move that little bit of that space really fast. Bang, you know?
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to make that tackle. But And then scuds is hard on another level, like he just makes you look like a fool.
Yeah.
But I used to do tackles with Mike Kainga after training quite often, and he's just a heavy guy, man. He just constantly giving me stingers. It just hurts so much. I don't know why.
Well, that's a first.
Something was up.
He's never come up in that question before, but it's good to know. Mike Kainga,
Yeah,
legend.
just really hurt.
Okay, last question. One piece of advice for a person who wants to become a professional rugby player.
Don't underestimate the value of being super fit. That's my kind of playing philosophy. I find like being fit as the team like trains you is good, but like taking that next step and like doing that extra work outside of those hours, or topping up when it's not expected of you on like the assault bike, or just really just pushing that little bit further, like I've found in my career, is just able me to play like the best footy I possibly can. And like, I'm not the most talented player, I know that, and I'm not the biggest lot going round, but I don't know, I'm fit enough. I seem to just turn up in the right place every now and then and do the job. So like, I would just say, don't underestimate being as fit as you possibly can.
That is great advice, because the game is so much easier when you're fit. It's such a hard game when you're thinking about air and thinking about how you can get as much oxygen in your lungs as possible. And if you're thinking about that, it's just too hard, isn't it?
100%. Like, you also know, like, your skills are just, you're not fatigued, you're not tired, your hands are up because you're fit, you're ready to go. Like, you don't drop balls, you don't miss tackle, like there's many those kind of errors and stuff. So
mate, if your career does finish for whatever reason earlier, you could always be one of the great mentors. That is some of the best advice we've had on the podcast today. Get fit. Love it.
It's pretty simple, mate. Like, it's like, I don't know. Don't overcomplicate things.
Yeah, mate, you're a good man and absolute legend. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I obviously love playing with you at the Hurricanes. Loved our times together in the info committee. Had some real good laughs, and obviously coming over to Japan and living the Japanese life with you over there as well. It's been an absolute pleasure to share the rugby career journey with you, and it's been awesome to catch up with you and get you on the Waterlad podcast, which I've been wanting to do for a long, long time.
Mate, bloody stoked to be on your podcast. I probably won't listen to my own podcast, but I'll just continue to listen to other boys' ones. I've enjoyed them so far, mate.
Oh, you're a good man. Appreciate it, Abbo.
Right, mate. Cheers, mate. Talk soon.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what a